Okay, we are on Lamed Amud Aleph 30a. See where we are is Rav taught us that there were 5 sages who all agreed with the same principle. The 5 sages are Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yeshua, Rabbi Elazar, and Rabbi Meir. Actually, Rabbi Meir is first. And the principle they all agree on is that chulin, ordinary food, is not susceptible to impurity past 2nd degree. The 2nd degree doesn't make a 3rd degree, which means the 2nd degree is pasul. It itself is invalid, but it's not tameh. It's not impure to the point that it confers impurity into another. So with chulin, it stops at 2nd degree. All of these sages listed agree with this principle. So the Gemara is now going through each of these sages and demonstrating that this is indeed the case. So we began yesterday with Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Meir said, anyone who needs to go to mikveh rabbinically, so this person is treated as a 2nd degree, because it's a rabbinic requirement that he go to mikveh for whatever reason. We gave 2 examples. Number 1,
you said 2nd degree.
We treat him as a 2nd degree. What did I just say now?
You did say that yesterday, because that's what it says here, but because that's why I asked you yesterday, it says 2nd. I think yesterday did you say 3rd degree?
No, he's treated as a 2nd degree.
Okay.
He's treated as a 2nd degree,
I
yeah.
thought yesterday you said 3rd.
No, he's treated as a 2nd degree to make others a 3rd. So
okay.
We gave 2 examples for someone who's required to go to mikveh rabbinically. Example number 1 is someone who has immersed in drawn water. So our sages instituted that the person should go to mikveh afterwards. And this was they instituted that because there was a confusion as to what's necessary to make the shower or the mikveh. So they turned the shower into something that makes you tameh, turning this person to a 2nd degree before he's gone to mikveh. And likewise, one who eats half a measure of impure food, this person now becomes a 2nd degree rabbinically. And Rabbi Meir said that this person who becomes rabbinically a 2nd degree can then in turn cannot infer impurity onto any ordinary food because he's 2nd degree and it stops there. But he can infer 1 more degree, that is 3rd degree, onto truma, and he can infer 2 more degrees onto kachim, onto sacrificial food. But the principle we're looking at here is the fact that this person who's considered a 2nd degree does not confer impurity onto something else that is chulin, that is ordinary food, and thus we established that Rabbi Meir agrees that chulin, ordinary food, does not confer impurity past 2nd degree. So now let's get to the next stage, Rabbi Yossi.
But the chulin is pasul there?
No,
it's not.
Because that would mean 3rd degree. Right? He's a 2nd degree.
Yeah, it's not conferring, right?
It's not conferring at all.
So it's fine.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, so Rabbi Yossi. How do we know Rabbi Yossi is of this opinion? So Rabbi Yossi had the Amran. Rabbi Yossi, we know this based on that which we said earlier in the Gemara. You have the place?
Yeah.
What did Rabbi Yossi say earlier? Rabbi Yossi made a kal v'chomer to tell us that 3rd degree impurity makes 4th degree for kachim, for sacrificial food. That's what Rabbi Yossi said. How did Rabbi Yossi derive that? 3rd degree.
One who's waited to nightfall.
So he learned it from the person who waits for the next day. He already had nightfall. He's waiting for his carbon the next day. At that juncture, he may eat truma, but does confer impurity onto kachim, onto sacrificial food. And therefore, a 3rd degree, which itself is impure for truma, how much more so it confers to kachim, making it 4th degree. Right? That's what Rabbi Yossi said. Yeah? How do we know that truma itself has a 3rd degree? Well, that too is from a kal v'chomer. The person who's gone to mikvah, right? We learned this way earlier. The person who's gone to mikvah, he's full yoim, but there's no head of shemesh. The night hasn't set yet. At that point, he is kosher for chulin, right? And yet would confer purity onto truma. So degree number 2, which itself is impure for chulin, how much more so confers to degree 3 for truma, right? So the 3rd degree of truma and the 4th degree of kachim is built on the fact that chulin stops at number 2. A 2nd degree chulin, that itself is tamei, but does confer 3rd degree to truma. And therefore, kal v'chomer, that the kal v'chomer from the person who's kosher for truma. Again, the person who's gone to mikvah. Yeah, night hasn't set yet. Kosher for chulin, not kosher for truma. And therefore, 2nd degree chulin, which itself is impure for chulin, certainly can confer impurity onto truma. So it's all predicated on that fact. And therefore, truma gets 3rd degree. And once truma gets 3rd degree, we get kal v'chomer from the person who's had nightfall but hasn't gone to the mikvah, that kachim gets 4th degree. Right? Now, says the Gemara to Im Isa, if you're going to suggest that chulin itself confers from 2nd degree to 3rd degree, then you pushed everything up a notch. If chulin is capable of going from 2nd degree to 3rd degree, then you should have a kal v'chomer that truma goes to 4th degree, and a kal v'chomer that kachim goes to 5th degree. Follow? The whole kal v'chomer was like this. The whole predicated on the fact like this: the person goes to mikvah, may eat chulin.
He's took
Full yoim. He's gone to mikvah. Night hasn't set yet. He can eat chulin, but may not eat truma because it
what is that? What is his degree at that point?
Makes a difference because he's in the purification process. He may eat chulin, cannot. He confers impurity to truma.
Yeah,
it doesn't make a difference what he is. We've discussed that length. He's from a sheret and therefore he's 2nd degree, or it's avtuma, but it makes a difference at the end of the day, right? At the end, it makes a difference because right now, chulin tahar, truma he's tamei.
Chulin stops at 2nd.
It doesn't make a difference. Again, because we're in the purification process, not the defiling process. So it makes a difference. 1 second, let's get there. 1 second. Let's first understand. It makes a difference what he is that we established earlier.
I wasn't talking about him. I was talking about the food.
The food he's eating, it's kosher food. He's eating chulin. He's eating tahar chulin. He's eating tahar chulin, obviously. Or touching it. The question is, does he confer impurity? So that means the thing he's looking at is tahar before he touches it. Yeah. So the guy got to mikveh, he's kosher for chulin, tahar for chulin. But tamei, he's impure for truma. So how the more so? Something which itself is tamei for chulin certainly confers to truma. That was the kal v'chomer.
But if we're not establishing any degrees for him.
No. Okay, you're missing the point I'm missing. You see, if you're asking about degrees of the person, you're missing the point.
But how do we know?
You're missing the point. Listen. You're missing the point. You're missing the main point there. Again, if this person is pure for chulin, but tamei for truma, then anything, who cares what degree it is, anything which we establish as tamei for chulin is definitely going to convert to truma.
That's for sure.
So the question is, what degree is that? What degree is that? What's the highest degree of? 1 second. What's the highest degree of tamei for chulin? And that will tell you where the kal v'chomer is.
2nd.
Which means, right? But if the highest degree was 3rd,
then you push it 1 more.
Exactly. And there's the proof from Rabbi Yossi, from the fact that Rabbi Yossi only goes to 3rd degree truma and 4th degree kachim, means chulin stops at 2nd. Because otherwise the kal v'chomer would have been pushed up a notch. And he would have had 4th degree for truma and 5th degree for kachim. Following? So it doesn't make a difference what degree anything is. The point is, once we establish from the purification process that chulin, yes, truma, no, then anything which is chulin, no, is definitely truma, yes. Definitely truma, no, to the next degree. So wherever you place that on the other side, that's we're going to tell you the degree to which you can push it forward the next one.
You have to have a reference point at some point to establish what chulin was.
Which one?
You had to say.
Which one? The one in the purification process or the defilement process? It makes a difference. The chulin he's touching is tahir. The point is he conferring truma on it? If it itself is truma, of course he can't touch it because otherwise
we make a statement that he's impure for chulin.
Impure for chulin means.
How did they establish that reference point? That point that he's impure for chulin. That's a starting point.
You're talking about hold on a second. You're talking about the person who hasn't gone to mikveh yet or has gone to mikveh?
Gone to mikveh.
Then he's kosher for chulin. He became impure already before. He's now in the purification process. It makes a difference how he became impure. But before he goes to mikveh, he's impure period for anything. Because he's impure. He's in the purification process. This means before he went to mikveh, he was completely impure for everything.
So how do we establish that he's pure for chulin and
because he went to mikveh? Because he went to mikveh. This is established that there are. This is established that there are three. That's right. It's a given. That there are three stages.
That's the part I got lost in because where did the given come from? That's my.
If we were learning the Gemara Torah, we would get into that. But we're taking it as a fact established that in the purification process, that stage 1 he's kosher for chulin, stage 2 he's kosher for truma, stage 3 is kosher for chulin for kachim. Having established that, so we have now a fact that someone who is pure for chulin does impart for truma. So definitely something which is impure for chulin will also impart to truma. But what degree is that? How far is there such a thing? What degree is there of something that's impure for chulin to which we can derive a kavachim that it should impart to truma? So from the fact that Rabbi says truma ends at 4 means that the fact that he said that truma ends at 3 and kachim ends at 4 means he believes that truma ends at 2. Because if he were to believe that truma goes to 3, then if he were to believe that chulin goes to 3, then truma would go to 4 and kachim to 5.
Again, that's another one of those. He's making a statement that's not that's his opinion.
Let's back up a second. What's the objective of the Gemara right now?
To know how far.
No, not the objective now. The objective now is to prove that Rabbi Yossi agrees that chulin doesn't go past 2. That's the objective now. Not to go through his logic. We already went through his logic and how he derives it from the verses. That's the objective now. How Rabbi Yossi did that, we already established before. Because the verse said only to 2, because of the sheretz going into the vessel and it stops at number 2. We already established all that. All we want to demonstrate is that Rabbi Yossi agrees with this premise. And we did. Because this is what he said. You're revisiting what he said, trying to unpack it. We already did that the previous classes, what they're following. Now we're just stating the fact. It's clear that Rabbi Yossi agrees that chulin stops at 2, because if he didn't, he would bump up truma and cut him farther. Understand? What's the objective? Follow? That's the objective of the Gemara here. Not to figure out what Rabbi Yossi is saying, but to establish that Rabbi Yossi said it. What Rabbi Yossi said and how he said it, we already established before. Because the verse says that the sheretz is primary, goes into the vessel, becomes 1. That vessel touches something else, it becomes 2. Finished. It's over. That's the chulin. And then we establish Rabbi Kiva or Rabbi Yossi establishes Kal V'chomer that this number 2 can then make number 3 for truma. And then we establish another Kal V'chomer that if the truma goes to number 3, then the kachim goes to number 4. That was already established all earlier. But from the fact that he says that is indicative of the fact that he agrees to the premise that chulin doesn't go past 2. Because otherwise he would have the Kal V'chomer bumped up.
Thanks for rewinding that.
Right, clear?
Okay, go forward again.
Yeah. So we established now.
There was an argument that kachim would go from 4 to 5.
That's what he would say if he were to be of the opinion that chulin can go to 3. Right. If chulin can go to 3, then truma would go to 4, and kachim would go to 5. Now, from the fact that Rabbi Yossi did not do that, means he agrees that chulin stops at 2. Okay. That's the point. Clear? Good. So now let's see the Gemara's language. In a moment, you'll be with us. Okay. Now we're in the middle of something else, but in a second you'll be with us. Okay. So the Gemara says Rabbi Yossi is also agrees with this premise that chulin doesn't go past 2. And this is based on Hada Amram, based on that which we said before. Why? Because if Rabbi Yossi is of the view that chulin goes to 3, then his entire Kal V'chomer is bumped up a notch. And therefore, Laisil the Revi b'Truma, he would conclude that Truma goes to 4th degree, the Chamishi b'Kodesh, and that Kodesh goes to 5th degree. And the fact that Rabbi Yossi says that Truma stops at 3 and Kachim stops at 4, it's because it's built on a Kal V'chomer of turning each level up a degree from the one before. That means he must agree with the premise that chulin stops at 2. which is why he only put Truma to 3 and Kachim to 4.
Because if it didn't stop at 2, it would bump Kachim up to 5.
And bump Truma to 4.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly. Okay. So now I can tell you where we are.
Okay.
We're Lamed Almond Aleph, 30a. Yeah. Yeah. Lamed Almond Aleph. You're Lamed Beis there. Yeah, the line begins with the word Rabbi Yeshua. No, sorry. No. Farther down, about the third from the bottom of the page. No, it says B'Kodesh, and the next word is Rabbi Yeshua.
It starts with a Kodesh?
B'Kodesh.
Oh.
And the next word is Rabbi Yeshua.
Yes.
Okay, so now again, where are we? Rav is telling us a list of 5 sages who all agree with the premise that impurity only goes to 2nd degree when it comes to chulin, when it comes to ordinary food. It does not go past 2nd degree. So we already established Rabbi Meir believes so yesterday. This morning we established now again that Rabbi Yossi agrees with this premise. Now let's get to a text in which indicates that Rabbi Yeshua agrees with the premise that chulin, ordinary food, does not go past 2nd degree impurity. Truma goes to 3 and Kachim goes to 4. But the premise we're establishing here is that chulin does not, ordinary food, which is called chulin, ordinary kosher food, is not susceptible to impurity past 2nd degree. Yes? Clear premise, Mayor?
Yeah. Sorry, say it again.
Chulin doesn't go past 2nd degree impurity. That's the premise we're establishing.
What is chulin?
Ordinary food.
Okay.
Chulin is in choil.
Right.
Mundane. Ordinary, mundane food.
Right.
Is not susceptible to impurity past 2nd degree. So there's avatoma, I touch the dead body, I touch food, that's degree 1. That food touches another food, degree 2. If that food touches something else, nothing happens.
Right.
Because chulin stops at number 2.
As opposed to
if that second item was truma, it would go to 3.
Right.
As opposed to if it was kachim, it would go to 4.
Right.
But chulin stops at 2. That's the premise we're establishing here. So we already established that Rabbi Meir agrees with this premise, and we established that Rabbi Yossi agrees with the premise. Now we're going to indicate that Rabbi Yeshua agrees with the premise. So Rabbi Yeshua agrees with this premise. The Tanan, before we looked at the Mishnah, gauge text. Rabbi Lezer says, rabbinically speaking, someone who eats less than the measure of a pras, which is a meal, less than the measure of a meal of non-kosher food, the person ate it.
So like 2 egg bowls?
Something like that, yeah. He ate less than that. He ate half of that. Yeah. So he's, biblically speaking, he is not tameh because he did not consume the requisite amount of impurity. Yeah. But rabbinically he is. Okay. So what degree of impurity is he? What degree of impurity? It's a rabbinic enactment. So what degree did the sages place him at? Yes?
Okay.
Following or not?
No.
If you're not following, don't say yes.
Okay.
Tell me no, because it's a way we're wasting our time if I keep on going when we don't get the premises.
Okay.
Yes.
I understand the first premise.
Yes, but the sages tell you you're tameh. To what degree? The degree makes a difference, because if I'm 2nd degree, then the next thing I touch is 3rd degree, and then that thing can confer to the next.
Oh, okay.
Right.
There are the degrees.
So what degree do I put me at?
Right.
When I ate something that's tameh,
Right.
First.
So let's see. What degree of impurity do I eat? What degree of impurity do I eat? And what degree of impurity does it make me?
And is there a difference between touching it and eating it?
So yes, touching is biblically tameh, but eating less than the requisite amount is only rabbinically tameh.
Oh.
This is the point we're making here.
How can you touch without eating?
Okay, in theory, you can get stuff down your mouth.
Right. Okay.
Theory. The point is it's eating.
Right. Okay.
Okay. So you can wrap the food up into something and stuff it down your mouth. Never touch it. Okay. This is discussed in Halacha. But this is the main point. Rabbi Lezer says, someone who eats oichel rishon, he ate food that itself was a 1st degree.
Oh, okay.
It itself was a 1st degree, which means it touched a primary.
So he becomes 2nd.
So he says Rabbi Lezer rishon, he himself becomes a primary, 1st degree.
That's the Rabbi Yeshua.
Rabbi Lezer. We're going to get to Rabbi Yeshua in a second.
He's saying it in the name of Rabbi.
No.
It says oichel rishon.
Guys, we got to follow. Rabbi Lezer is speaking.
Oh,
Rabbi Lezer is speaking. Rabbi Yeshua will speak in a minute.
Okay.
Let's learn the text.
Oh, right. Okay. You're right.
Yeah. Rabbi Lezer says a person who eats 1st degree turns into a first degree.
But there was one level.
Sorry?
I thought a level was brought down each time.
But this is a rabbinic enactment. So the sages can place you wherever they want. It's a rabbinic enactment that you ate impurity less than the amount requisite to become biblically impure. They imposed upon you a impurity. So Rabbi is of the view that this impurity imposed upon you by the sages leaves you at the level of the food you ate.
It's sort of a deterrent ordinance.
Exactly. So Rabbi says if you ate first degree, you are a Rishon, you're a first degree. Sheni, you ate the second degree. Sheni, you yourself are second degree. Shlishi, you ate a third degree. Shlishi, you yourself are a third degree. This is Rabbi Lezer's view. Okay. Rabbi Yeshua says, now we're getting to the text, which is going to indicate to us that Rabbi Yeshua agrees with the first premise that Chulin doesn't go past second degree. See where we're going? Okay, so what did Rabbi Yeshua say?
I'm sure he disagrees with
Rabbi Eliezer. Yeah, he agrees with Rabbi Eliezer, but let's see how he gets to the point that Chulin doesn't go past number two. Because so far he's just talking about what degree you become when you eat. It doesn't say anything about what you confer to anything else. Okay. And the premise we're trying to establish is that Chulin doesn't go past second degree. Right. So let's see how we get to there.
So eating it brings you to one level, and that's they agree
but,
with that, but the degree.
No. Oh. Don't read into things I'm saying. Listen to the words I'm saying.
Okay. Say it.
They're arguing. Rabbi Eliezer only stated what you become. No discussion on what you confer. Rabbi Yeshua is going to disagree about what you become, and in so doing is going to apply what you confer. And from there, we're going to conclude that Rabbi Yeshua agrees that Chulin doesn't go past second degree. Let's see how. Clear?
Yeah.
If not clear, then stop me. Yes? Good. So Rabbi Yeshua says, Ha'oichel rishon, someone who eats a first degree, v'oichel sheni, or he ate a second degree. Sheni, he himself is a second degree. So he disagrees with Rabbi Eliezer. Rabbi Eliezer said
that rabbinic ordinance he's relying on.
He disagrees on the nature of the rabbinic ordinance. Rabbi Eliezer is of the view that you automatically become the level of which you ate. Rabbi Yeshua says you don't become more than a second degree. So if you ate first degree, you become second degree.
Yeah.
You ate second degree, you also remain second degree.
Because it doesn't go past that.
Because it doesn't go past that.
The argument.
That's right. Now here comes the key. Here's another argument. Shlishi, what if you ate third degree? You ate third degree impurity. Yeah, which means it's truma.
It has to be because Chulin never gets the third degree.
That's right. That's the point to establish. That's the point of the premise we're trying to establish. So the person ate third degree. Yeah. So what does he become? Says Rabbi Yeshua, Sheni b'kodesh. We treat you as a second degree for kodesh. You ate a third degree, so you become a second degree as far as sacrificial food goes, which means you can touch something, make that impure, and that confers impurity to the next thing if those two items are sacrificial food.
Well, that makes sense. Because if you were third degree, then he could have.
And you'd only make fourth degree, 1 degree forward on the kodesh. One second. Ve'ein sheni betruma. And you are not second degree as far as truma goes. Which means if you ate third degree, what happens? You can go ahead and eat truma afterwards. Because the only impurity you have is for third degree and fourth degree of kachim. Follow or not? He ate third degree.
He ate it, but he's not.
Rabbi Yeshua says we turn you into a second degree as far as sacrificial food goes. Which means if you're a second degree, you confer 1 more degree on something else.
Right.
Third degree. And then that thing can confer fourth degree in the next thing, if those 2 items are kachim, or sacrificial food.
Fourth degree, you're saying?
Kachim goes to fourth degree.
Okay, right.
Truma goes to third, chulin goes to second.
Okay.
This is established. This is the premise we're trying to establish.
And there's a difference between truma and kachim?
Yes, kachim is sacrificial food, and truma is the tie that goes to the Kohen.
Okay.
2 separate food, 2 separate items. And kachim is the highest degree of holiness, and therefore most susceptible to impurity.
I thought, and so truma is not a form of kachim?
No. Kachim means sacrificial food.
Okay.
You know, when
came from the altar.
Into the temple, there's parts that you can eat.
Parts you have to eat.
Okay, right.
The Kohen has to eat.
You can eat.
Not can, have to.
Has to eat.
It's a mitzvah to eat them. Has to be finished by a certain time, right?
Exactly.
Yeah? Okay, so let's make it so it's clear. So Yeshua says, I ate third degree impurity. So Rabbi Eliezer said, you turn into the level of the food you ate. You become a third. Fine. Rabbi Yeshua says, you become a second degree as far as kachim goes, as far as sacrificial food goes, which means you can make a number 3 kachim, and then you can make another 4 kachim. It can make a number 4 kachim.
If he ate
A number 3,
if he ate a number 3,
he turns into a number 2 as far as kachim goes. Yeah, he goes higher.
Why?
This is his
If you're
opinion.
Third degree, you could impart impurity to kachim if you're third degree.
But he makes you into a second degree, which means you can impart 2 degrees away from you.
So he can also impart on truma as well.
No, because he's second for kachim. He's not second universally. He's second for kachim.
Only.
But ve'ein sheni betruma.
For only
For
kachim.
kachim.
But what
He's
is he
not
for
a second
truma?
degree for truma.
What is he for truma?
Nothing.
It means he can eat truma.
That's right.
Imparting impurity.
That's right. That's right.
Because if you were a third degree impurity, you would not be able to convert impurity on truma.
That's right.
Because
The food he ate, truma stops at 3.
Okay.
So the food he ate,
be at 2.
the food he ate itself could not confer impurity to truma because it's a third degree.
Right.
And then he's going to eat something, and now he's going to become a conference to truma. So we're taking,
Right.
the food he ate itself is a third degree, so it itself could not confer impurity to truma. So him eating it, he definitely, it was puzzle. Him eating it is not going to turn him into something that can now all of a sudden confer to truma. Only for kachim.
Only for kachim.
Only with respect to sacrificial food. Yes?
So
You clear on this or no?
What is he for other things?
I think so, yeah.
Sorry?
What is his status in terms of other foods?
Which other foods?
Well, hulin, if he's second degree hulin, it's okay.
Hulin certainly is out. It's third degree.
Yeah. Other truma.
Truma is also out because it's third degree.
He would.
Truma is out because it's third degree. The food item itself would never confer impurity to truma. So truma is also out.
Because he's still free in terms of.
The food he ate was a 3.
Right, but let's see, he found some other truma after that.
Yeah, but
he's a third to that.
Which means nothing.
But it's out. He's out.
Which is out, exactly.
Because
So the only thing is, we upped his level as far as sacrificial food goes. Yeah? Okay. Now explains the Gemara, and here's the main point. When do we say this? When do we say that someone who eats a third turns into a second degree for kachim, for sacrificial food? Yeah?
When he ate the truma.
Only bechulin shenasu al taras truma. Only if he ate he ate chulin. He ate chulin that was made or prepared as if it was truma. So explain what this is. Rashi tells us like this. It was not uncommon that a Kohen who is eating truma regularly got himself into the habit that all of his food is going to be pure. Even though it's only chulin. It's called chulin al taras truma. It's chulin on the degree of purity of truma because he's living in Yerushalayim and he's constantly getting truma. And to start remembering this is truma, it's not truma, and start separating, make sure this is here because it's tameh, this is here, it's not tameh. It's
two stacks of grain.
It's a complex. That's right. It's a complex. That's right. It's a complex set of life. And we were talking about this the other day. In order to simplify the laws of truma, he just established his whole lifestyle around. So many Kohen would do this. They would eat chulin al taras truma. They would eat chulin as if it was truma. So says the Gemara, if it's only that kind of thing, that if you were to eat a third degree on that level, then it becomes second or third, then it becomes a second degree for kachim. But, yeah.
Okay. So it only applies to those individuals?
That's right. It only applies to
those who establish that stringency.
That's right.
Themselves.
No, if this thing was prepared it was prepared in such a way that it was maintaining purity on the level of truma, and then it became impure accidentally, and it's number 3. That's when we say we turn you into a number 2 for kachim. It was never truma. It was chulin that was being treated like truma that became a third degree, and now you ate that.
It doesn't apply to truma per se.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Like truma.
That's right. But there's two versions to the Gemara, and Rashi explains it both. We're going to go with the version we have in front of us. But altaras, but so the Gemara comments, altaras truma. This is only true if you prepared this chulin, treating it as if it was truma. That's when this law applies. That if he ate that impurity on the level of second, on the level of 3, he'd become, because even though it itself isn't truma, but it's being treated like truma. So if that thing is a third degree, then, right, let's make it clearer. This third degree item we're talking about is not actually tameh, because it's chulin.
Right.
And chulin doesn't become tameh at third degree. Why is it third degree? Because he decided to treat all of his chulin, I think someone's in the office, he decided to treat all of his chulin as if it was truma. Right. But it's not impure.
This sounds like it keeps in mind with the Bel Kahomer of the.
1 second. Let's not confuse everything. Let's understand this before we start comparing, right? So make it clear. This third degree impurity is totally, completely pure.
Yeah,
because it's chulin.
Right.
It's only tameh because he's treating it as if it was truma.
Right.
And if he ate that, then he becomes a second degree for kachim because of the stringency he's taken upon himself.
That means because it keeps the fourth level.
Forget that.
Okay.
Forget that. Yeah. I know, but it's not. It's not helping. This is the fact. Again, the objective of the Gemara here is to establish the fact that Rabbi Yeshua agrees with the premise, not to understand this thing. We can go to the Gemara there, where the Gemara is quoting from, and we can discuss it. But here we're just establishing, which is what Rashi tells us. Rashi says, you want to know the reasons behind his ruling, go to the Gemara there. Okay. But here the point is,
I'll take that.
Exactly. Hasam Afarish Time. There he explains the reason. Here we're just establishing the premise that Rabbi Yeshua agrees that chulin doesn't go past second degree. That's the objective here. So we're looking at the facts of the law. Yeah. So this food is really, in essence, it's completely tar because it's chulin. But he is treating it like truma, and therefore it's third degree. Because truma could go to third degree. And he's treating it like truma, so it's third degree. Good. Now he ate it. Now we put upon the stringency upon him, says Rabbi Yeshua, that you become a second degree as far as sacrificial food goes, as far as kachim goes. But let's say he prepared it al taras ka'kodesh. Let's say he prepared this food, yeah, not as if it was truma. He treated it as if it was kodesh. So it's even higher. 1 second. Let's just think of this. First, understand what he's doing. So the first level was a guy who treats all of his food like truma, which means even if it's chulin, which means it's only tameh at second degree, at third degree, it's not tameh anymore. He still treats it as if it's tameh because he's treating all of his food like truma. Yeah. Then there's another guy who right now he is serving in the temple, which means half the food he's eating is not just truma, but actually kachim. Half the food he's eating is sacrificial food because it's his week in the base of Mikdash. So now he's going to treat all of his food not just like truma, but he's treating all of his food like kodesh.
Third degree.
So he's making as if all of his food, even at fourth degree, can't be impure, because he's treating everything like kodesh. Right. So says the Gemara, here Rabbi Yeshua didn't comment and turn him into a second degree or a third degree. Why didn't Rabbi Yeshua comment that way? Rabbi Yeshua said, if you treat the food like truma, then when you eat it at a third degree, you become second degree for kodesh. But he didn't say that for someone who prepared his food on kodesh, which means because it doesn't matter. There's no such thing as turning your food into a kodesh, and therefore it's ordinary chulin. And if it's ordinary chulin, it has no impurity whatsoever. Thus, we established that chulin doesn't go past second degree. Because if chulin would go past second degree, then this person who ate chulin at third degree truma would be tameh just on account of its chulin. The only reason to make it impure is not on account of it being chulin, but on account of we're treating the chulin like truma, because chulin itself wouldn't be at that degree. Which is why the guy who treats it like kodesh, which has no halachic validity of treating it like kodesh, we look at it as regular chulin, and then for him eating it has no truma, has no impurity whatsoever. It's only because you treated it like truma, now it has impurity, which means only truma goes to third degree, not chulin. So here we establish the premise from Rabbi Yeshua that he agrees that chulin doesn't go past second degree. Because if it did, this food would make you impure on the account of it being impure, not because of it being treated like truma. Clear? That's all. The reasoning for Rabbi Yeshua, said Rashi, go to the Gemara there. Where's the Gemara? The Gemara is in Masechta Taras. You can learn Masechta Taras in the Gemara Shabbos where it explains it. But here we're learning this fact. Okay? So God willing, tomorrow, so we already covered Rabbi Meir, Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Yeshua. Rav told us there were 5 stages to agree with the premise. The second degree doesn't go, and Chulin doesn't go past second degree. So we established Rabbi Yossi agrees, Rabbi Yeshua agrees, and Rabbi Meir agrees. And tomorrow, God willing, we'll look at Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Lezer and Rabbi Lezer.
So if you treated everything like kachin, then
it's invalid.
It's not.
It's
invalid.
In other words, there's no halacha.
Such a high level of stringency that
There's no halacha validity.
Beyond that. So
the point is, it has no halacha validity. Treating chulin like kachim has no halachic validity. Treating kachim like truma has halachic validity, and we treat it like truma, and it goes to 4th.
Right.
But since you ate it,
the highest level, you can't go beyond that. That's how I see it.
The reasoning I don't know, but the point is that if you eat, Sarashi explains it. If you treat ordinary food like kachim, it has no halachic validity, and it just stays at its chulin status. If you treat chulin like truma,
like Truma did at its halachic status when he was turned into. When he was really a 3, he was a 3.
The food he ate was 3.
He was turned into 2.
For kachim.
Yeah.
What he ate was 3. But again.
But he couldn't make truma impure.
Because it's a 3.
Because he's a 3.
The main point here is like this.
Same reason why I'm 4.
No. Let's say he treats all his food like kachim.
Yeah.
It's a 3rd degree. When he eats that food, nothing happens. Why? He's treating it like kachim. And kachim goes to 4th degree. So if he's eating for 3rd degree, certainly it should be impurity. Why is it nothing?
Because it's not really.
Because there's no halachic validity to turning cholin into kachim. A person takes upon himself to treat cholin like truma. Halachically, all of his food turns into truma, and therefore could achieve 3rd degree impurity.
It turns into truma?
We treat it halachically as if it was truma.
Oh, but not kachim.
Not kachim. Because the notion of treating cholin as kachim has no validity.
No validity.
That's right.
That's because that's what the sages said.
That's right. So, and therefore, when he eats 3rd degree impurity of something that he treated as kachim, that has no halachic validity. And it's treated like a regular chulin. That's right. It has no halachic validity. And if it has no halachic validity, it's just an ordinary chulin which stopped at 2nd degree.
It's never deemed kachim.
And therefore never deemed impure. Because it's 3rd degree. And 3rd degree doesn't make it that far when it comes to chulin.
No,
That's right. And there's the proof that Rabbi Yeshua agrees that chulin stops at number 2. Because otherwise, this food item wouldn't need to be impure based on its status as truma. It would be impure on its own because it's chulin. Why does he have to say that 3rd degree impurity is only for chulin that's treated like truma? Because only if it's treated like truma does it go to 3rd degree. If it's ordinary chulin, it stays at number 2. Because if he treated it like kachim, and treating it like kachim has no halachic validity, which means it's regular chulin, it stops at 2. That premise. Okay, wonderful day. Tonight, after Maghrib, very geshmak shir, God willing.
Yeah,
It's not going to be as mind twisting as last week. It's a very geshmak shir. The history of the pouring out the wine, the different versions. Do we dip with the finger? Which finger? Do you pour it out?
Yeah.
And then once you're done with the pouring out, do you empty out your cup and wash it out? Do you just refill it? All different customs. And we'll see the unique way that Chabad does it.
Yeah.
God willing, practical and spiritual at the same time, but not going to be mind bending halacha like we did the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, wonderful day. What?